This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. It's actually the second show of the morning. We did a MLF AOY recap show with the one and only Jacob Wheeler after his most dominating Angler of the Year performance, his fourth Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Angler of the Year title in the past 5 years. And if you remember, Matt Becker got him there in the last one in 2023 by just like 4 points, but he made no bones about it in this one. I think he won by like 45 points over, I think, Jake Lawrence there is absolutely dominating. But he kind of went through, it's an interesting show. He got him in between dropping his daughter off at school and going to get his yearly dental exam. So we kind of worked through each of the events, and it was very interesting. His three kind of primary baits. You can go back and listen or watch that show too. But a Nico rig, a minnow fish both during his period with forward facing sonar, and then he also blind minnowed a lot in a couple events. Fishing that minnow without forward facing sonar, traditionally where we used to see guys that were fishing a spoon or deep cranking or that big preacher jig and kind of using a minnow in lieu of that. And then in almost half of the events, did a lot of damage on a frog. Obviously, we saw him win this last one there back in the slop in the salad on the largemouth. On a frog, but we had a lot of events that went down over the past week. I kind of drove back through the night. We had Division 2 of the Bassmaster Opens this year is the craziest thing I've ever seen happen. So 4 tournaments, top 50 go to the EQs, and there's 4 3-day tournaments, so 12 days of competition. Top 10 fish on the final day. In total, in Division 2, we fished. We fished 7 out of the possible 12 days. 2 of the days were canceled. It was a 1 day on Rayburn. 2 of the days were also canceled in Arkansas. We ended up only fishing 1 of the days there. And then we got all 3 days in on Kentucky Lake. And then the first day was canceled on Leech Lake. So the full field fished just 2 days. I've never seen it where 3 of the 4 tournaments multiple days were canceled out of it, but had a good finish on Leech, a top 25 for me. Got out of there with a pretty decent check. It was almost a $5,000 check for a top 25 finish, so I'll take it. But while we were there, something went down at the St. Lawrence River, the Toyota Series presented by Phoenix Boats there, and you knew it was going to be a heavyweight event. Like, it's no secret that the St. Lawrence, as guys get better and better and figuring it out, and we've seen what the Johnston brothers do there. Like, one of the interesting things with northern fisheries and smallmouth is current doesn't change and rocks don't move. It's not like Florida where a guy can go down, at Okeechobee and crack a mid-30s or low 40s bag out of reeds and then go back and do it year after year after year. Like, you kind of can have the areas, but like things change, current changes, grass changes, the flow changes. Like, you get up north there. That's why you see a lot of the guys I think that do well consistently is, those fish live a long time. And glacial deposits and boulders and that current, like, it's pretty much the same when you go back year after year. So it's amazing how these fish are getting bigger and bigger, and these guys are figuring it out more and more. It wasn't that long ago when we were talking about, can the Elite Series, can an FLW or an MLF event, which it was every fish counts, but they went to 5 fish for a year there. Can you crack 100 pounds of smallmouth? Is it possible to catch 100 pounds of smallmouth? Will it happen on the St. Lawrence? Will it happen on Lake St. Clair? Where will it happen? We saw, I think it was Jay Shakurit who got that job done, and now it's kind of seems like 100 pounds is there. But last year, Bryant Smith, who's kind of a newcomer from California on the Elite Series there, had an epic comeback in the Elite Series out there. He cracked like over 29 pounds of smallmouth, and you're holding up all 5, and you're like, God, these are like fish of a lifetime that you're seeing kind of as a one-off. Well, anyway, I say that to get to this. So this was out of Messina. This is all important information because we're going to get to why it's important. But this tournament is out of Messina. It wasn't out of Waddington. It wasn't out of Clayton. It wasn't out of anywhere up by the lake. It was a river-only tournament, too. I believe these guys couldn't even go out into Lake Ontario, traditionally where the biggest smallmouth are. And Brody Campbell won it. He went 26-02, 26-15, and 26 even, for a 3-day total weight of 79 pounds, 1 ounces of all smallmouth. And I said this when I had Wheeler on today. I said, it's not that often you get someone who finishes third in a Toyota series that I'm just jacked to get on BTL. But that's what we got today. We've got Erik Luzak on because he opened the tournament with 26 pounds. And then, and this kind of made ripples, like guys would call. We were at Leach, like, hey, did you see what just happened at the Toyota series up? But my God, you see what Erik just weighed in? 31 pounds, 5 ounces, 5 fish limit of smallmouth out of Messina. He had to have only been able to fit. Well, we'll just ask him right now. 31.5. That gets you on BTL, Erik. Thank you for jumping on the show. And I look forward to diving in to how this record-setting, massive 6+ pound average limit of smallmouth went down in the Toyota last week on the St. Lawrence.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. Good morning, everyone. I've always said you got to earn your way on Bass Talk Live, and I guess when I drop that sack, I guess that counts. But pretty cool. It's still weird to hear you say that. Like, I honestly, I can't. It's still kind of surreal, even thinking back on it only a few days ago.
I guess, yeah, that was. Today is the 18th, and that happened on what, the 15th?
It was Friday, yeah.
Friday. Today's Monday, yeah. So the 15th, day 2 there. Just to put a bow on it, and then we'll go back and we'll focus exclusively on that second day because I want to know how it all went down. I want every cast. I know beforehand. I haven't even seen it, but I saw some baits maybe that you have with you. You have caught a flight. You're like up in BC right now, about to go fly fishing. So thank you for getting up early, but you ended up 17.6 on the final day, which is also amazing that you can weigh in 17 pounds on the St. Lawrence River and still finish third. That means you did something friggin' nutso on the first 2 days, but 74.11, $12,571 for your efforts. But you're now the record holder for MLF and Bass, 31.05, that limit. Let's talk about how that all went down, kind of set the scene for that week. We've seen a lot of events out of the St. Lawrence River. We had Bassmaster Opens prior to that. Wasn't there like a big bait fuel event that was up there that they had before there? Corey Johnson won, Corey Johnson won that, and then Chris Johnson won the Invitational up there, and then Corey Johnson won the Open up there. So, I mean, it was no secret what was going on the St. Lawrence, and it should have been pretty beat up by the time you guys got there for the Toyota series.
Yeah, it was. So I guess it kind of all starts even 2 weeks before that. I hopped in the Open there, and I actually had a really grindy practice in the Open, and that was out of Waddington. And yeah, I remember talking to my friends. We only had 3 days of practice for the Open. Had to take some things off my boat for that, different rules. So I had to re-rig my boat a little bit for the Open. And I remember it being not super pumped on that. And actually day 1, I didn't do that well. I had just under 21. But then day 2, I just went out there fishing, and kind of that's when I really got on the pattern that ended up leading to what we just mentioned. I got 26.8, I think, on day 2 of the Open, and it actually threw me into the top 10. And then against the likes of Corey Johnson, who was also in the top 10. I think he was in second or third going into that. And then I just kept that kind of pattern rolling. Had a good day on the third day of the Open. That was live coverage, which I've never been on Bass Live before either. So that was really cool. And just had that experience, and all my buddies messaging me and, screenshotting. I guess I was in the lead for a little while unofficially. So that was cool. I was just happy with that. But what I didn't expect to happen, and I guess I should have, after Bass Live, you can't hide anything, and my little face is bobbing around on that map where I am. So we had a week off, and then I came back to practice for the Toyota series, and I noticed a big difference on my stuff. Not that there was a ton of guys all over it. The fish you can almost tell the fish got beat on, I think, after I left. that tournament. So yeah, it got a lot harder to catch them. I mean, they were there and they were giants, obviously, but it went from me catching in the open. I was culling through 4.5, 4.9s, kind of all day to like the Toyota Series. It was a struggle, at least with my pattern, to get 5 bites a day of the right bites.
We'll deal with this right off the bat. So the river, and I'm going to try to pull up a map here. I've done it before, but there's kind of 3 main tournament points out of the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands, Lake Ontario. Use it interchangeably. But the first one would be Clayton, and that is the easiest location to crack a mega sack out of. Generally speaking, it's the closest to the lake. If you're fishing out of Clayton, you can typically go out into the lake. You're around the mouth of the river where a lot of those big fish come out of the lake and live in the mouth. You're a 20-minute run from the mouth of the river, typically where you're fishing, unless you Travis Manson it and decide to, go deep into Canada or wherever the hell he goes, where he's like, oh, I fished for 11 minutes and caught 19 fish over 7 pounds. But you're fishing, right, Eric? Like out of Clayton, like you're able to fish like 6, 7, 8 hours of fishing time and return home.
Yeah.
Then there's Waddington, which is an hour, 45 minutes, an hour away from that kind of Clayton area. So now you're losing 2 hours of fishing time, 2.5 hours, depending on the weather, depending on the waves, depending on how nice of a day it is. You have some 30-mile-an-hour zones that, and then even past Waddington is Messina. Now, I've never been to Messina, but how far is it past Waddington?
It's about, I want to say it's like 20 minutes, 22 minutes just past Waddington. So you end up losing round trip another 40 minutes usually.
I misspelled your name.
No, I don't know what Jody's talking about. You got it right.
Jody White said,
What's up, Jody?
wow, I can't believe you spelled his name wrong and the guy caught 31 pounds.
Or maybe he's just playing on the joke. He's got his own little things he's got going on. Who knows?
Oh, okay. Oh, I was freaking out about that. I always try to spell the names corrected. I was like, you've got 2 K's and a Z in your name. So, so just to get to where you're fishing, like half of your day.
Someone said you put an S, not a Z. Where is that? We're not on my name on here. I don't know where. Oh, up at the top.
Crap.
Ah!
Oh no! Oh no! I did.
Hey, there's Tom Hardy's on. Here's my team.
I don't know if I could go back and change. I could go back and change it after the show. I don't know if I could change it now.
It's all right. It's good in the screen. It's all good.
I've got it spelled with a Z right here.
Yeah, 22. I watched the open stuff, and the guys on live had a real hard time saying my last name, which it's literally just the way it's
Luzak, right?
Like, yeah.
So anyway. I say that to get to this, long story short, you're spending a lot of time driving and not fishing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and you notice a difference. So from the open, coming out of Waddington, and I did run to the same general area. I mixed in some different spots, but you feel the way more pressure on you coming out of Waddington to catch them quick. With that, you're almost losing upwards of an hour. And you don't know what the wind's going to be like, the boat traffic. I left early each day, and I think I gave myself about 4 hours to fish each day. So you catch 26 pounds on the first day. You had to be pretty happy with that. Was that in the same area that you did the damage in the open in, where you said the fish were smarter and all that? Yeah, some of them were for sure. Some of the spots. And then, so I practiced a little bit different for the Toyota Series because, again, I knew that a lot of my stuff was probably going to have some boats on it after the open. Which is not something I'm used to be honest, but I just kind of anticipated that. So I spent 4 days practicing for the Toyota Series, strictly looking for new stuff. Not that it's stuff I haven't seen before, just new groups of fish on different areas, but definitely the same general area. And it paid off because some of the fish on that day one 26-pound bag, I think I started off with a couple good ones on one of my original spots, and then I moved to a new area. And right at the end of the day, I only had I had 5 for 20 something, maybe 21 on day one. And so I had 2 that were like 3.5s in there. Wasn't super happy with it. And I gave myself, I'd weigh in at 230. So I gave myself, I think I said by 12:30, 12:45, it was a decently calm day-ish. I got to start running back. And at noon, I pulled up on a new zone for the day and pretty quickly caught a 580, and then right after that, like a 575, like 2 quick boom, boom calls. I'm not crazy quick, 5 minutes back and forth from each other. And that boosted me up to 26. And I was like, holy crap. Like, all right, let's go. Said to my coin, let's go. He didn't have a fish yet. So I gave myself a few extra minutes, stopped at a bridge piling on the way, and he caught a almost 4-pounder on the bridge piling, so he could weigh one in. But yeah, like it's pretty wild. I must say too, I feel bad for co-anglers in these events. Like it's tough, especially what I was doing. A few spots I had for sure, there was like definitely a chance. Like my day 3 guy caught fish, but it's tough for what I was doing to catch him if you're not looking at him. Let's go.
So you come in after day 1. You're basically you're tied for second, but Brody had 26-2. You had 26 even. And then on the morning of day 2, I'm going to pull a picture up. What are your thoughts? So Jody White, who knows how to spell your name correctly, apparently, took this photo on the morning of day 2. You're in second place of the Toyota. You're working on your stuff. You got a big smile on your face. Did you have any inkling of what was about to happen or what the potential was when this photo was taken just prior to takeoff on day 2?
No idea. Because of how it went down on day 1, I caught those 2 fish so late. Otherwise, I would have had a real average day, been in like the 30s, and then just got 2 the right ones to bite. And I was like, I could get 20 pounds. I could get 17. Like, I don't know. Funny thing with that photo, just before that, I put the trolling motor down where, we check in first. Everyone floats around until they call your number or whatever. I put my trolling motor down and went to turn on my top Garmin. I have a 16 on the front and live scope, and it wouldn't connect to live scope. I was like, uh-oh.
Did it have that no transducer found?
Yeah,
LS?
So I rebooted, I unplugged, I returned my power off, do it again. Still no transducer connected. I was like, what the heck, man? Like, what am I going to do? And I think it took 4 tries. I have no idea. Like, I unplugged it, plugged it back in, and all of a sudden it just turned on. And I think Jody saw me right after that. That's why I was smiling, and that's why I was messing with that screen because I just got it to work. And at that point, I was like, I don't touch a thing and just leave it. And it worked the rest of the week. I mean, no issues. No idea what happened. But yeah, that's what.
All right. Walk us through the record-setting day. Over the next 8 hours, that resulted in you weighing in 31-plus pounds, including a 7.2 and a 7.14 or 7.15.
Yeah. So then I run back down, or I guess upriver, downriver. And I've always had a thing with the St. Lawrence River. I fished a lot of Toyota Series and some opens out there. I've never done well 2 days in a row fishing the exact same spots. I always find I got to at least mix in new stocks, and I got to have a lot of options because those fish just feel the pressure. And when you think you can get them there again the second day or the third day, they disappoint you. So I started off on one of the spots that I did catch them on day 1, and actually my co-angler was my first cast. I think it might have been my 3rd cast at this group of fish. I caught a 6-pounder. So my first fish of the day, I've only been fishing for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I catch a 6. I was like, sweet, that's a good start. And I guess I'll quickly kind of mention. So I am scoping them, and I am, for the most part, I'm mixing some other stuff, but I am dropping a minnow on them. I'm minnow fishing out there. We'll talk about that more, but so I'm out anywhere from 30 feet of water to 50 feet of water, and I am looking for fish. Sometimes they are right on the bottom. Sometimes they are not on the bottom. Oddly enough, the ones that weren't on the bottom, that you like the ones that are up high that you think would be ready to chew, were actually the hardest ones to get to bite. If I could pull one up off the bottom and they were coming up for it, they'd bite it almost every time. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So then I went like 2 hours after the 6-pounder with no fish, and I was starting to panic a little bit. I hopped out to where the magic happened at the end of the day on day 1, and it was a ghost town. But my game plan always has been just to keep moving, and usually it's crazy. Like 9 times out of 10, when I pull up to a new little zone, put the trolling motor down, scope around, I catch a fish usually within 5 minutes every time. It's so weird. So I go to another, like my 3rd or probably my 4th stop, and Jody happened to pull up for on the water coverage, and I remember. So we were chatting, and he's just far enough away so he can take pictures but not disturb my fish, and I hadn't really seen much, and I actually heard him pull his trolling motor up. I'm like, oh, Jody's out. I'm not giving him any content. And as he does it, I pan over and I see 3 blobs that were actually up pretty high, and I did a little backhand cast to them, and the one just comes up and crushes it. Catch that, and that ended up being a 5-pounder. That was an epic photo that Jody got of it. Jumped like 4 feet in the air right by the boat. My co-angler scooped it out of midair. It's pretty sweet. So that was like my second fish. So I had a 6 and a 5. And then, then what did I do? Oh, then I just, same thing. One more stop. Most of these fish were one stop, one fish spots. I didn't really have one area where I could just sit and beat on.
Right.
Which it sounds like it might have seemed that way, that some people do that. I don't know. It's never worked that way for me. So then I just kept moving, and I had a bunch of stuff from either history or practice that I had seen big ones. And I kept moving, and I put down and I catch another, I think I caught another 5-pounder on the same thing this is the Lunk Crunch Twitch Witch that I was using. So I caught another one, and then I ended up it was 11 o'clock. I had till 3 o'clock to fish. It's 11 o'clock, and I had 4 fish for, I think my Rapala scale said, just around 21 pounds with 4 fish. And I was like, oh man, like
just one more and you're up to 26 and you have a shot to win the thing.
Yeah. I'm like, just give me one more 4-pounder. I don't care. So I go to a zone that I did fish on day 1, but day 1 had a pretty good northeast wind and there was rolling in on that spot. I couldn't really settle down and fish. Well, now day 2, especially by 11 o'clock, it was nearly flat. So I pull into this spot, and it's about 40 feet of water. And this is, I'll never forget this. So again, 4 fish. I still need my 5th fish, and I'm stressing inside, but I'm taking my time doing my thing. And my co-anglers, being really supportive, like, yeah, man, just keep moving. Every time you put that trolling motor down, you catch another 5-pounder, just one more. So I put the trolling motor down this new spot, and I pan around, and I see these 2 blobs. There's a ton of drum on the river, and especially as you get out towards the lake, just tons of drum. They look like huge blob. Like, they're obvious. It's the drum, right? You see them swimming. They swim. So I see these 2, which I think are for sure drum, way out 110 feet on my scope. And I was like, no, they're drum. I'm not going to even waste my time casting them. But I kind of kept on them for a minute with my scope. And then as they got around 80 feet, they kind of split up. And all of a sudden, from 2 giant blobs, went to 4 bass-sized blobs. And I was like, oh, damn, those might be bass. So I chucked the Twitch Witch over there. And immediately, they're bass, because usually when that lure hits the water, that you get some sort of reaction out of them. They'll start to either swim up or sometimes swim away. They swam up right away. And I was like, oh, wow, they're bass. One went up for it, swiped it, missed it. Another one swiped it, missed it. And then the third one connected, set the hook. Honestly, still didn't know what it was. It just kind of pulled some drag, almost drum-like, except I knew the way they bit that they were not drum. That's the backhand cast I think I caught the 5-pounder on. I think he actually got the picture of the cast there. Shout out to Jody White, one of the best photographers out there, I'd say. And I'm not
catch a fish too
right now. But anyway, so fighting the thing, it's not jumping, nothing. My coning was ready with the net, and it just kind of comes up and lays on the surface, and we both go, oh my God. And I just lean back, and he scoops it. And dude, I've never seen a fish like that in my life. My PB to this point is a 7-pound. I've caught 3 fish over 7, but they're all like 7.1, 7.2s. So I think 7.2 is my PB up to this point. And we get the thing in the boat, and he's like, dude, that's a 7. And I was like, it might be more than 7. So I have to put on the scale. It came in, again, I do it in decimals, like to the 100th. It came in on my Rapala scale at a 780. So it ended up being 7 pounds, 14 ounces.
Holy
that was my 5th fish. So then all of a sudden it's like, I think it's like 11:30 now, and I have 5 for 28 and change, whatever it says on my scale. And I was like, oh my God, okay, that's it. I said, I'm gonna be leading this thing now. Like, that's insane. Like, I'm good. I'll go home, 5 bites, 28 pounds, sweet. And I have a little freak out. I always fizz my fish right away. I don't wait anymore. I fizz them sometimes, especially that big one. I had to fizz a few times, but fizz it. He kind of bent my hook out a little bit. I probably horsed it once I saw it at the boat. So I retie. I get back up on the trolling motor. We're done high-fiving with my co-angler and all that kind of stuff, and I'm shaking. And I pan around, and I literally haven't moved. I spot lock. Usually I spot lock when I catch one. So I haven't moved very far, and I pan around, and there's like just halfway up the water column, there's just a blob just sitting there. He's not swimming, just sitting there. And I was like, that's like a bass as well. It's 40 feet from the boat. Flip the Twitch over to it. Much slower, but it comes up this time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's coming up, looking at it. Just kind of loads up slowly. I'm like, oh, set the hook. He's like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I think it's a good one. And then this one jumps, and it was we freak out again when we see it jump. When we get it in the net, I weigh that one, and it was a 680 on my scale. So I got a 780 and a 680 on back-to-back casts, essentially. And then and those are the only 2 that I really caught back-to-back all week, honestly. So they were in the same school, 100%. They were hunting for bait. They were aggressive, and they wanted to feed on minnows, obviously. And put that one in the boat, and that called. I had a 4.9, a measly 4.9 that it called. And at that point, my scale said 30, and I was like, okay, I don't know what more I can do here. Like, this is wild. And that was it.
That's so. I would assume those are those two. Look at that. That's the face of someone who can't believe. I love this picture. Like, there's the all five, but like this picture, right? Like that face right there, as far as what just happened. There's two things about this picture that I noticed. That is genuine joy and disbelief right there. And then this is the other thing that I noticed. The smallmouth are big, and this happens with the crappie that I catch too. I'm going to zoom in even more on this. When their body outgrows their tail. See, like where the tail is attached or the body is attached to the tail, it looks like fake. Yeah. It looks like a swim bait down at the bottom there. That's how you know those fish are so big that their body right there is outgrowing the tail.
I honestly never noticed that. You analyze things much more than me, but yeah, the body was huge. It was thick. It was wide. It was just a freak. And it did tickle 8 pounds on my scale for a second, when it bounces up and down. I was like, oh my God, that's like, 8 pounders are out there for sure. And there's our 5 fish. That's my co-angler to my right. We call him Big Fish Jimmy. He fished with my buddy Braden Stoker on day one. I think he coined that phrase, Big Fish Jimmy. But man, he really was. He was just an awesome dude. And I told him, he's like, man, can I get a picture with you with these fish? I'm like, dude, I'll pull you up on stage and you can hold them. Like, you netted these things. Like, this is you, dude. Like, yeah. So he was just as pumped for me. He called me on my drive home, after I got third, and there's just some absolute gems that fish these tournaments, man.
Did he catch any, or did he kind of once realize something special was going on? Did he kind of like mellow?
So I left really early. I think I gave myself 3 hours to get back with that bag. And I did so many stops, and I just to let him try to catch one. And it's tough when you're not doing, and then I'm changing up, I'm pulling up on stuff that's not dialed. And took him he actually, I'm so heartbroken. I took him into a dock to catch a largie. And he had a largie came out. We both saw it, ate his Senko right in front of us. It was like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 pounder. And then he breaks it off onto the dock. And I was like, oh, man. But he, you know what? He had high spirits about it. And honestly, like he said, he's like, I'm never going to see someone catch a 31-pound bag. Yeah. That was amazing.
So you caught your first fish at roughly what time out of this 5-fish freak show?
It would have been like pretty close to 8 o'clock and in the morning. I'm thinking it's an hour and a half run. So probably 7:45 in the morning.
And then you caught the last one at what time?
I remember looking when I put the big one in the boat was 11:30, and then the last like 11:45.
8, 9. So in 4 hours you did 31.5. Yeah. So you said your scales said 30. Were you sure that you had 30 when you came in? What was the thought process when you saw the 31 number?
I kind of like how my scale weighs a little bit light for that reason. So when it says 30, I know I have at least 30. And there's been times that it's closer. It depends how wavy it is. You're trying to weigh those things, and it's up and down, and you kind of lock it in. And, I actually try to lock it in more on the light side usually. So I knew I had 30. There's no question. And I got to say, the boat ride back when you have 30, it's a lot different of a boat ride back than on day 3 when you have 17, I got to say. It's nothing can go well. To be fair, then I started hearing so I got 30 pounds. I got an hour and a half boat ride. The noises, I don't know if you make them up in your head or the things that you think might happen on that boat ride that you think of, they all start kind of like happening. So, so I was like, I just need to get at least close so something happened. Now, to be fair, I run a Suzuki this year.
That's what I was going to say. You're a Suzuki guy. I'm buddies with Rojas. Those things appear to be fairly bulletproof.
They are, and I have no concern with that at all. So shout out to Suzuki. I've heard stories of them running on pure water in the gas and keep running like crazy stuff. But I started hearing this metallic clank, and I was like, what the heck is that? Like, what is this metallic noise I'm hearing? So it was stressing me out. Turns out my hole shot plate that's underneath, I have a Bob's Machine Shop jacket. There's a hole shot plate. 3 of the 4 bolts had come out, and my hole shot plate was about to fall off, and it was like slapping down there. So I'm hearing that
so
noise.
you were hearing something.
Just get home, just get back. Yeah, so it was wild. I mean, so when I said in the report that MLF put on the website, I got 6 bites. That was my 6 bites. I had 28 for the first 5 bites, and then 1 call gave me 31, and that was that's how the day went down. But for some reason, the way I was targeting them and the ones that were biting just all ended up being at least 4.8s. I didn't catch a fish under 480 until the last day, when it just, I don't know what really happened there, but yeah, it was wild.
I wanted to kind of get through it, and then we'll take a break, and we'll come back and get into the baits and how you fought them and kind of how you found them and stuff like that. But you had a 4-pound lead going into the final day, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine this has to be like an odd mixture of like excitement mixed with disappointment, or, I mean, you go from a 31-pound bag to a 17 where, you know, you're like, what the hell? I just needed like 21, 22 to win an event like this. But what was that kind of swing of emotion like? Are you disappointed? Are you still just like, what the hell just happened last week?
So it's funny, a 4-hour drive home after that, followed by a 4-hour flight to the West Coast. Get a lot of time to think about that stuff. And there was no new Bass Talk Lives to listen to on my flight. You were so busy last week. So I just had to think, Matt. I tell you. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been coming down to the U.S. stuff. Like, most of that was in Canada. U.S. stuff for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. So I guess I've come to expect it. And honestly, I did not expect to catch him again on day 3. I got asked that honestly too many times. Can you back it up? Can you back it up? Yeah. And I really was never sure any day if I could back it up. So I just knew when I blasted off, it was flat calm in the morning, boat number 1, I blast off. I just had this feeling come over me that, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to happen. And that was it. And yeah, nothing else changed. I did drop 1 big fish on day 3. I don't think it would have helped. Wouldn't have done it. Would have maybe got second. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm bummed for sure. It stings. But then I see a picture of that 5 fish I caught on day 2, and the sting doesn't sting as bad.
That picture.
Yeah.
You gotta. If there's ever a time to have 5 replicas done, and well, it would cost half of your 3rd place check, but to get like the 5 replicas done, like on the wood, like, you know, like Rojas has the 45-2 on the wall, like all the replicas of it. Yeah. I don't know. I
never thought about that. I didn't really take. I mean, don't you need like good measurements and stuff for that? I barely got pictures of the damn things. Like, I just.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of things that I notice that other people don't maybe not notice. So did you have to chop your brakes off for the Open and then duct tape the wires back together for the Toyota Series?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, I got the brakes last year, and I might be one of the first guys in Canada with them. I'm not sponsored by them, so I don't talk about them too much. There's a Suzuki. That thing's that Vexus Suzuki is my first year with Vexus, first year with Suzuki, and holy, what a game changer. The Vexus hits boat waves like I've never seen before from any angle, air-ride seats. It's amazing. Anyway, yes, the brakes, I've gotten used to them for sure. There's a few times where you think, okay, I don't think I would have got that fish to bite without them. You can use it in a lot of different ways. It's not just, I see a fish at 80 feet, let's back up and keep it 80 feet. Like, you can use it for a lot of different kind of techniques, which I try to do. But yeah, for the Open, you can't have them. I was thinking all these ways to develop a quick release deal, but yeah, I know we're going to fire Panger up here for sure. But I just cut them off. I literally just took side cutters and cut the wire right at the top of the power poles there, and then put them off, and then pulled them off. It's like 2 little nut things on those spikes. And then when I put them back on, I just resoldered them back together with waterproof crimpers, you know, and you heat it back up or whatever, and then they'll just be back on. And I guess I'll keep doing that if there's ever a tournament where I have to take them off. But
if you're not sponsored by that brand, I mean, Power Brakes has a quick release system. I take mine off, on it off in like 3 minutes. Like, I literally just popped them off for this Open. I'll put them right back on.
Yeah, that would be handy. Yeah, the ones I use, I think it took me, it was half an hour, 45 minutes.
Oh no, yeah, no, you'll never get that time back. You could have been like relaxing by a campfire, drinking a cold beer. They're not used for trolling. They're used for boat positioning. They're used for deep water boat positioning. They're just like power poles or raptors or whatever, except for deeper water. You can use it in the current. You can. Jody messaged me and he's like, dude, I bet half of the guys who made the cut had brakes.
Yeah.
Of some sort on, just for precise boat positioning, not to move your lure, not to troll with it.
The current, you mentioned the current, that's key, because actually, I don't know, this is maybe some juice I should keep to myself, but it definitely allowed me to fish these fish from various angles. So some of them are sitting on boulders, and it was wild to see, you're so used to everyone fishing down current, casting up current, and you spot lock or whatever, and you look and you cast your bait past the rock or whatever you're trying to cast on, and you bring it over. Well, I was doing it opposite. I was actually fishing up, not for all fish, but for some of them, I'd be up current, turn my boat down current, use my brakes to hold me up, and you would actually be able to like really just hover that bait.
You're back drifting, but you have the ability to scope while back drifting, basically.
Yeah.
So listen,
just holding it there.
You're not backing up with the bait in the water. That is not trolling. And then Jody White, you're right, Eric. It did get me fired up. Jody White says everyone sort of trolls on the St. Lawrence. That is not true. So here, you want to talk about going to the ends of the earth to understand every nuance of this rule on every platform I have. If you are using a motor to generate motion with your bait, that is what is considered trolling. Technically, when you're throwing a chatterbait around docks and you go like this around the dock and you feel your bait or something move because you're going, that is technically illegal because you are using your bait to move the boat. Now, the natural flow of the river is current. That is not considered trolling. That is considered drifting. So you are not using a man-made motor to add action to your bait. You are using the natural drifting current. That is why you can back drift. That is why you can drift on the St. Lawrence, on the Great Lakes, anywhere where there's wind, because the propulsion of your lure is based on either the wind or the water current and not on a man-made motor that is on your vessel.
Well said. I don't know what the big deal is, man. Like in Canada, we call it strolling, and we did it all the time. Like mega bags on. If anyone's heard of Lake Simcoe, for years the deal was you troll with a jerkbait behind the boat, and you stroll this jerkbait or crankbait, and guys were catching 28, 30-pound bags 10 years ago doing that. I mean, dragging tubes. I saw a comment on there. We would troll, and why has this become such a negative?
You're drifting. It's not. Here's the deal. There is no propulsion. I don't think he understands how the brakes work. There is no propulsion. It keeps you from propulsion. You're not using your bait to move it. It is literally boat positioning, just like the reverse feature on the new Garmin is, just like any trolling motor. It's the same as taking your trolling motor, turning it around backwards and hitting it. It's just easier. Anyway, it's very interesting. It seems like there's a number of guys that are understanding how those are used.
I just don't see why it's such a big issue. Troll if you want.
I don't think it is.
Man,
I think people are trolling me right now on the show. I did see a lure there. All right, Eric, we are going to take a break.
Yeah.
When we come back, I see baits there. I see rigs. I'm interested in what you did to keep those fish buttoned up, to get them to bite. There were a lot of guys, it's no secret out there. I think one of the guys in the comments here, old Jody White.
Hey.
I think he maybe has won an open out there on a minnow. And I think we've seen maybe Robert G chucking a minnow out there and a bunch of other guys. So it is BTL on a Monday with MLF smallmouth record weight holder Erik Luzak. That sounds cool, doesn't it?
Crazy.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish. want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top unarmed, Strike King. Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFCO. Any fish, any water.
Welcome back, BTL on a Monday. Talking with Erik Luzak. We're about to get into the baits, the techniques, and all that stuff. Because just like with the boat, just like with the fish, I noticed a couple things about your minnow setup that I'd like to ask you questions about. So run through it. You mentioned it a little bit, but I think you actually have it right there. The bait that
I brought one. So like I mentioned, I actually just flew up to the. So I kind of back. Like I live in BC out in the West Coast, but I grew up in Ontario, really close to kind of Lake Ontario. But so I don't have any of my fishing stuff here. So I threw one pack. I took it out of my boat last night before I left. I threw it in my backpack to fly out here. But there's a few other. I did mix in a few baits. I had a few different minnows going for sure. And one thing that I did, it didn't actually play as much this time as it did in the open. But sometimes they won't come up and eat minnows. You got to be on the bottom. And so there's also some bottom baits that I use that I can talk about that I didn't bring with me here, but definitely the deal. So I've been with Lunker Hunt for a long time. That's actually a brand that started in Canada. I was one of my first sponsors actually like 15 years ago. And then, I've just been working with them more on and off ever since. But Matt Airy and I, so Matt Airy, Elite Series Pro, I've been with Lunker Hunt as well for a long time. They came to us, they said, we want to make a whole line of baits that's really just geared for you guys, for tournament guys, for the avids. I think everyone knows that Lunker Hunt makes the baits that are more for the general public to walk into Walmarts and whatnot. So they really wanted our.
What Eric's saying is everyone knows Lunker Hunt for the spider.
Oh yeah,
that is in Walmart, but that they make some serious baits that could also win tournaments as opposed to spider baits.
Well, exactly how Lunker Hunt started. Dave McDonald, the original founder, he was a tournament guy, and he just made it was tubes. And like flipping baits, there's just all soft plastics, and then things evolve and whatever. So
I would imagine to say they sold a crap pile of spiders, though.
That was wild. That was my first year. I got back on the team more officially. The ownership kind of changed, and I was brought back in, and I went to ICAST that year when they won with the one that won it with the spider. And honestly, guys, trip it all you want. That was a wild ride. I have to admit. That was really cool.
That's part of legend and lore of ICAST.
Yeah, it really was. And then, anyway, so now Lunker Hunt, they came with a whole line of baits called the Black Line. You can see it here. Everything's kind of opposite. So let's get Blair. There we go.
Yep.
So this one's kind of falling apart because I did have it in my boat. So the Black Line, it's actually, these aren't out yet. So I don't know if that's maybe why they're biting it so good, because maybe I'm the only one out there with it. But yeah, there's a series of baits, and that's the Twitch Witch. That's what I'm using right there. So the Twitch Witch is their minnow. And again, so both Matt Airy and I had some backup on that to figure, actually this might be a video of Matt using it here, maybe, if it's gonna. But yeah, it's a, I am. Oh, it's me talking about it. There you go. Yeah. It is it's a regular soft plastic, so PVC plastic, so terrible. No salt in this one, so it's more or less neutrally buoyant. It does stand out really nice on a jig head. In this video here, I'm using one with obviously eyes. That's actually probably I don't know if that's a one or whatever that is, but I switched to the tungsten heads on it now. So this one here, this is actually a 3.5 inch version. That tail, I can't even hold it still.
So the tail, obviously, it's close to the Crush City, but it seems like it's maybe a softer plastic than the. Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure. It's super thin. Like that tail is, and that was what I said. I said I want that tail to just quiver. I don't need a big flat double thing. I just need that tail to wiggle. no matter if you're using moving the rod tip or not. So this bait will roll really well. It rolls phenomenally for sure. But if you don't roll it and just hold it still, and a lot of that is they have these fins kind of on the top that help to keep the current kind of moving through it, and then just how skinny it gets at the end. A bunch of different colors. This one ended up being my favorite color here, which is this color anyway? White tea. Just shinery in the bottom, so it's got a little bit of flash to it. And then this one, I use a lot of 1/4 ounce, but also 3/8. This is a Woo Tungsten jig head minnow, tungsten ball head jig. It actually holds the bait on really well. I will say it's got a
that's a resin or a powder. That head on it's a resin head.
They call it gray. And actually, I did want to mention that because another setup I use is the shiny tungsten, the Queen tackle one that a lot of the guys are using. I do use that. And I started noticing that when I switched to this gray, which is tungsten, but just a matte gray, the fish that would analyze it would bite this better than the fish that would just come up and some of them are going to come up and bite anything, right? But the ones that come up and stall on it and stare at it, I don't know if that flash or the shine of the head is starting to get to them. And it also depends on the day, if sunny, cloudy, all that kind of stuff. But this gray color in the tungsten worked really well. And the bait keeper tends to tear your baits a little bit less. The Queen tackle one, phenomenal. Obviously, jig head, I use it a lot, but you tear through a lot of baits with it. This holds it on better, which I really like. I would alternate. So I had usually 3 on deck, and I'd alternate between the size. So this is actually a 3.5, which is what's going to be available. They have a 4 1/4, which I do have as well. That one's not going to be available to the public as soon. That's like straight up prototype that I had. And then I had a 5-inch on deck. So between those 3 sizes, I would then change up the weight as well. So size is important. Color, I don't think color is as important, honestly, as long as it's minnow looking. White with some gray and some flash to it. But the rate of fall I found to be the most important thing. So that's why I really alternate between 3/16, 1/4, and a 3/8. And kind of mind-blowing to me, in the open, 2 weeks prior, I think I caught every single one on a 1/4. Like it had to be a 1/4. They wouldn't touch it. Then all of a sudden, day 1 of the Toyota series, the entire 26-pound bag I caught, all on 3/8. And I don't, obviously I'm trying to think, okay, is it wind? Is it the sun? Is it what's making them decide that they want to drop at them faster versus other ones? I don't really know. All I know is I always keep at least 2 options on deck. And depending on how it's going, if I'm catching them or not catching them, because you'll know if you cast at 4 or 5 fish and they come up and don't eat it or don't even come up for it, you got to make a change. And they'll change until one will crush it. And on day 1, I think I cast at 3 or 4 with the 1/4 and they just wouldn't commit. And I remember telling my co-angler the very first cast I made a 3/8, he bit it, and it was a 5-pounder. And I said to him, like, oh my God, that was one cast with a 3/8 in it, crushed it. So then I just kept the 3/8 in my hands and crushed it. They all crushed it right after that. So that's really important. Rate of fall, and that changes. I mean, it changes from the lake that you're on to the day. It literally. Then funnily enough, the next day I catch 31.5 pounds. I want to say because I just caught him on a 3/8. I started with a 3/8, so I think I caught the first. No, I lie. I caught that first 6-pounder on a 1/4. For whatever reason, I just started with a 1/4 again, and I think I weighed 3 of those 5 on a 1/4 ounce, and then two of them came on 3/8. So I still change it up, but I mean that's honestly one of my big takeaways is don't get stuck with one weight in your hand or one jig head or one size. There are times that these fish want a smaller bait, and there's times they want a 7-inch minnow, that they'll bite. So change it up.
And here's a question about size. So the way I look at this is I have matured in my minnow journey over the last 2.5 years. Is I used to go to every single Elite Series event, covered all these things, so you'd see what the guys, you visually see what the guys have on their deck when they're going out, and like it was never KVD never just had 3 6XDs on his deck, and Keith Combs never just had one chartreuse powder blueback 8XD on the deck. Like Kevin would have like 6 rods with Series 5s and 6s and 8XDs and all that. So I think there's still a lot of the people that are looking at a minnow is a minnow is a minnow.
Yeah.
But Jody's on here. They're the guys that are really good with minnowing are looking at the minnow just like the top guys look at the moving baits and the crankbaits. I roomed with Miles Berghoff this year in the opens, and I was completely unaware of how many different variations of chatterbaits there are. And that guy will throw a chat. If there is a 5% chance he will catch a bass on a chatterbait, he will be throwing a chatterbait. But like, I would go out for tournaments and like, we're all parked next to each other, and the man would have 8 different chatterbaits on his front deck. I mean, it was unbelievable. Minnowing is the exact same as that in my opinion. When you're saying it, like, nuance is different. You mentioned rate of fall, size of minnow, reaction bite versus feeding bite, depth. Like, the minnow's the same as every other bait. It just is harder. You just look at it and it all looks the same.
Yeah, I mean, drop shot's the same. I mean, I haven't drop shot as much as I used to, but like, I'd always have at least 2 rigged up. It'd be 2 different weights on them, sometimes 2 different leader lengths, because that makes a difference. But yeah, 100%. I mean, and what I've noticed I would do, this is what I do as I'm looking around for fish. I'll always have a rod in my hand, obviously, and I mean, finger on the trigger, ready to go. But when I see that fish, especially if it's far out, I'll analyze first what that fish is doing. And a lot of the times I would switch rods before I actually take my first cast at it. For one, your first cast is the most important cast at it. So not only do you have to get your accuracy bang on, you need to make sure that you're throwing what that fish is going to bite. So I judge by, am I seeing one that's 5 feet off the bottom, or am I seeing one that's 10 feet down from the surface? Then I'll decide which one I'm going to throw at it. And then I want to line up, get close. So then you're changing from a quarter to an eighth. Those cast differently. I can cast a 3/8, 120 feet with ease. With my 1/4, I got to like push to get to 110. And if I come up short, there's nothing worse than coming up short on one of these fish. Nothing worse. If you don't, I mean, there might be a really dumb one that'll come and crush it on a short cast, but you come up short, you just screwed that for sure. So there's a lot going on, a lot of analyzing for sure. Boat positioning, we mentioned the brakes, that's where they come into play. So I'll use them to kind of like stop me so I can like pivot and not, get too close and get the right angle on it, stuff like that. But yeah, 100%, like stop and think before you just throw a minnow at these fish a lot of times, especially the smart ones and the St. Lawrence ones. And we know this is every year. As the tournaments go on throughout the year into August, these fish are getting smarter and smarter. You got to do everything you can to get them to bite.
You also are not a loop knot guy.
No. I can't even tie freaking the loop knot. I've tried it. I don't know. I just tie. I polymer knot guy. Polymer knot. I do 2 knots. Polymer knot for my baits and blood knot for my leader, and that's it. I throw in an FG knot for some baits, especially heavier lines. But so I guess 3 knots. But that's all I do.
Amazing you caught a fish without the loop FG combo.
I know.
I thought that was. I didn't think you could catch one without it. I'm a uni to uni guy, and then I tied a Palomar on the minnow until Joey Cifuentes down in Mexico taught me a double loop knot. So
Okay.
it's actually like, because like I'd always take the loop knot before, like that you tie the Rapala knot, and then if you go like that, it'll just pop. And I'm like, screw that, I ain't doing that. I'd rather have less action than that. And he taught me this double one. It's got like the 3 tag ends, and now I tie it and feel special. And then I've when I'm alone at night in the house, I'll put on all the FG YouTube videos, and I'll break out the 6-pack, and I'll like get all the different lines and try to tie it, because I'm really learning how to tie the FG. I'm still not comfortable using it in the tournament. I think it's whatever works for you, whatever you have confidence in, whatever you can tie quickly and efficiently and lean on and know this ain't giving, this ain't breaking. That's what you need to be using.
Yeah. I mean, so I'll tell you the rest of my setup then, speaking of that. So I use 15-pound braid exclusively, especially for the minnow, and then 10-pound leader. And I can lean on them. Like that 8-pounder, well, 7 and 14. I leaned
It's an 8-pounder. You can say it was an 8-pounder.
I pulled that thing into the net. Like I probably shouldn't have. But it all happens so fast. And I never think about that. Like, oh man, I remember I pulled on that thing, and I trust my stuff 100%. But yeah, that's something about that 15-pound. I like my braid to be a little bit thicker. It kind of I don't know, it holds the minnow up higher. What it does. And then I'll mess around with the leader material sometimes, but 10 seems to work. That's my go-to. My rod. So I'm with Daiwa. I use just the black Tatula, which I want to say is their lowest end Tatula that they have. It's a 7.3 medium, just a 7.3 medium action. It's a basic rod. Man, I love that thing for the minnow. I got 2 of them, so 2 are tied up in the front deck of my boat all the time. I use it's a ballistic reel, nothing special to set up, just 2500 series ballistic. But something about that 7.3 medium Tatula. Now I do have it in the Elite series, the Elite one, which is that silver Tatula as well. But I don't know why that black with the cork handle.
Bro, that's $100 rod.
Yeah, that's what I call them. That's
there it is. Like, especially if you are.
No, there's one up with cork. So that's the non-cork one. So there might be one. I don't know. That's the XT.
The Daiwa Tatula XT spinning 7.3 medium
There's one
fast
up in
action.
the XT. That's the same rod, but it's got a cork handle.
Okay.
But
other than that, it's the same rod.
Yeah, totally same blank, but with cork handle, and I love it. I don't know, like I do, and then I have a bunch of them in the Elite one, which I actually use more for we talked about the bottom baits that I use. So I drag some jigs on the bottom and Neds. I use the 7.3 medium in the Elite for that. It's weird. You can get the exact same blank, and depending if it's painted or not painted, it'll change the action. So the black unpainted blank is a little lighter than the silver Elite one, which is painted. It's a little heavier because of that, like a little stiffer action. Yeah, that one. So that one, the exact same. You get the exact same.
7.3 medium extra fat. The Randy Howell drop shot rod.
Exactly. Yeah, and it'll be slightly stiffer than the same blank, but in black unpainted.
Okay, and that's 229.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also shout out to Laker Howell, by the way.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Tatula Elite AGS for 329.
Yeah. I mean, that's got those funky eyes on it that you got to be super careful with. There's be a breeze on it, break. So,
I just got. I caught shockingly at Leech in the Open. I caught all but one on a bait caster, and I bought some Daiwa. I don't know what kind they were. I got 4 of them. They were like so awesome. It was the first time that I had used them, and I'm mixing with the Denali bait casters, but this I was making like really long casts with a light jig. I thought they were pretty nice too.
Nice.
There you go. There's a little tidbit. You don't have to be buying a $900 poison rod to weigh in 31 pounds on a minnow.
Yeah.
Interesting. When you fight those fish on that big, I go like I've always thought, and I just had a really deep conversation with someone about this, not on the show, but for an hour. I was like, I finally understand why the smallmouth guys reel against the drag. I had never understood that. I always I don't understand how you can be so good, and then it's amateur hour when you're fighting the fish, when you hear zzz, where you're clearly just line twisting. But then, like this year on the big largemouth, it clicked for me as to why you reel against the drag with those smallmouth.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So Bassmaster put a reel out of I think I caught like 4 fish pretty early on live, and they made this little reel on Instagram. And I couldn't believe the amount of comment. And I'm not a comment reader. I don't really care. Everyone's just stirring up pot. That's fine. But the amount of people that are like, oh, look at this idiot with his drag so light, reeling against his drag and twisting his line. And like, I couldn't believe it. There was fights going on. And go. So I'm on Instagram. I'm at Erik Luzak. Go put in your 2 cents. That's fine. But I'm thank you for mentioning that, Matt, because I have lost a lot of fish trying to figure, learning this minnow thing. And most of the time it's when you get them like, oh yeah, he's on. And then you just slowly reel and you let them play, you let them fight. They will turn, and one turn of their head and they run at you and your rod goes slap immediately. Like, it is crazy. And if you watch some of that live coverage from day 3 of the Open, there's a couple fish that I thought I lost because they turn at me so quick. And if I wasn't just constantly reeling, and once you get them to the boat, yeah, you can then they start really dogging, getting away from the boat. But when they're still out there 80, 90 feet, they do wild things. And you just basically, you get them, you load up, and you just crank. And having your drag too stiff will definitely hurt you. Too light obviously will hurt you. You're not going to keep pressure. There's a fine line for sure. But yeah, I mean, and it happened all through the Twitter Series event too. Like, I just reel until I feel like he's settled in. He knows he's hooked now, and pulling away from you. Because I think a lot of it, the way they bite in the middle, they're coming up from behind or below and they're pushing it towards you. So there's a ton of slack they're putting in. So first you got to pick up that slack, and then they're still swimming at you. So until they really realize what's going on and they start swimming away from you, you cannot stop reeling. Just don't stop, and you'll have a much better time.
I've lost a lot fewer since I went through like a year where I seemed to lose everything, and I'd hook one, and the first thought through my mind would be, please don't jump off. Or I'd be like, oh my God, it's a big one. I just wanted one I could reel in. And I knew I was super screwed when I was upset when you'd hook a big one, because the first thought in my mind would be to lose it. And Clun was on Zal Dangerous on Chris's podcast. And he talked about the hook point and keeping the hook point coming towards the boat like that. And ever since then, like the best thing that I've ever done was when I went to Mexico a couple years ago, and I was catching them on a big spinning rod. You find out how much torque you can put on a medium action rod and a light medium wire and 10-pound test leader. And it's amazing what you can do to a big fish that, if you let it, will absolutely kick your ass.
Yeah.
But if you bring the fight to that fish, it's a completely different fight than if you let the fish dictate the fight.
Yeah. And it depends on the hook. I mean, these minnow hooks are usually 3/0, a lot of gap there. Using a little number 1 drop shot hook, that's different. You can't lean on them the same for sure. And if you're using a jig, something like that, big hook, you got to keep that pressure on them. But yeah, I fished with, I do another series up in Northern Ontario with my buddy Clint Hurd. And I remember the first time I caught a few with him, he's like, holy crap, you really lean on those things. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. I just get him in the boat, get that net down and get him in the freaking boat. I'm not messing around. Like, it's almost like bed fishing too, because if you're bed fishing with smallies, they tend to, line up as well. And then you can kind of just lean on them because they're right below the boat. Yeah. There's a couple of times you can just get them in. I like that. I'm a straight braid flipper too. I grew up flipping docks and grass with a jig on a straight braid. I absolutely love just boat flipping big ones and not letting them fight. I do it all. So if I can do that with a smallie, heck yeah.
What are you looking at for 26? I know you've been in this game for a while. We've seen Coop, and we've seen, what is it? Is it Evan Kung, a Canadian? Yeah. The Johnstons, Chris is tied for with Jay, or not with Jay. Chris is tied with McKinney. Looking to go back to back in Angler of the Year. Chris, I mean, it's you pretty much expect the Canadians to catch it when they come down. Is this what you're looking for? Are you looking to get on one of the top tours? I mean, what's the game plan for you?
So the way my whole journey in the stateside kind of happened was, like, I was just happy fishing tournaments in Canada. I was guiding full time, and we only have a tournament season from late June through kind of end of September. It usually wraps up, and there's Clint. There we go. He's an absolute smallmouth hammer up north. You want,
and then also, after you catch some, it's super easy. You just cut your bait off, you troll, you let your line out behind the boat with nothing on it. And you just nothing on it. You get 100 yards out. You just troll it for 20 seconds. Then you just reel it in, tie your stuff on, and all of that, every single bit of twist is gone out of that line. Anyway, continue back with your life.
I used to have the guide trick issues. My clients would just tangle the crap out of my stuff. Anyway, and then I hopped in this one tournament that if you won, you went straight down to what it was called the Costa Series back then. And my good friend Ashley Ray and I, we hopped in that. It was on Bay Quinte, which is a bay that is off of Lake Ontario. It's mostly largemouth. We were not allowed to go to Lake Ontario. We won that tournament. That qualified me for the Costa Championship. This was like in 2018. 2018. Went down to that. If I won the international division, then at the time it qualified you for the Forest Wood Cup. I was on this Costa Series championship was on Lake Gunnersville. I ended up putting 4 fish a day together to win the international division, and that qualified me for the Forest Wood Cup, which also gave me a spot on what was then called the FLW Tour. So we are going back a few generations on this. So I did all that. I fished the Forest Wood Cup in 2019, ended up being the last Forest Wood Cup. Then they rebranded to the, what the heck was that? Was when they rebranded the Pro Circuit, right? Yeah. So I did ended up doing 2 years on the pro circuit. That's full-time in the U.S., big entry fee, yada, yada. And I had a good time. I cashed a few checks. I liked it, but man, it's a grind. So back here in Canada, I have a business. I run a business that, I mean, I do set my schedule around tournaments for sure. I'm lucky enough, it's my own deal. I set the schedule for this business, so I set it around the tournament so I can do what I do. But to do a full schedule, it's a lot. And I found I've got a really good balance right now with doing the northern swing events, may that be the Toyota Series or some Opens or whatever comes up north. I'll hop in invitationals, whatever it is. And then a championship in the fall is perfect timing, and that's been really good for me. I can keep some effort in my business, which is important, obviously to keep food on the table, and then I can stay competitive and fish down south and keep my sponsors happy. I will say, so FXR and Lunker Hunt are my two co-title sponsors. FXR is a big supporter of bass, and I talk to Chris, who's the brand manager, almost daily or weekly, and he's definitely pushing that I hop in an Opens division next year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. See what the schedules come out. But honestly,
supposedly the schedule is supposed to be out here fairly soon.
I figured it would have been after a Leech event for sure. Yeah, man. Honestly, the Toyota Series. So this was an interesting thing, and I'm not trying to stir the pot here at all. But I got third in the Open, and there was 140 boats, I think, in the Open. I got third in the Toyota Series. There's 140 boats. Yep. The entry fee is about $500 less than the Toyota Series, and I got paid like $3,500 more in the Toyota Series. So, and then I understand the Opens pay further down. They pay.
That's what I say. I did the same thing where I just got 25th and made as much as the guy who finished in 8th in the Toyota Series made.
So it depends where you finish, but I don't know. I mean, bang for your buck. Honestly, if depending what your end goal is, the Toyota Series, in my opinion, are phenomenal. It's where it's at.
You got Jody White taking pictures of you, and you can't put a value on that.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. And then, but the Opens, the eyeballs on the Opens is pretty cool. I mean, obviously, but I get asked it all the time. Do you want to make it the elites? And honestly, if I went that route and qualified, I mean, it'd be crazy not to take that invite, but I don't know if I have time with my life to do it.
How old are you now?
39.
Okay. It's an odd age, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So it's I'm not.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, right. So people used to be like, "Oh, do it now while you're young. You only get one chance." And it's okay, yeah, well, I did that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Honestly, I just love where it's at. My sponsors are happy. I'm happy. It's been good. But I kind of split my life in a West Coast and an East Coast life. So if anyone follows me on Instagram, I spend the winter in the mountains. Playing on my so by the way, we call it a sled. A sled is a snowmobile, if anyone's wondering what that is. It's not like a sleigh that you put on. So I play in the mountains all winter and act like an idiot, snowboard, and I enjoy that time off from fishing and from the heat and whatnot. So I don't know if I want to give that up just yet. I'm still able-bodied and ready, able to do that. So I like that, and then I kind of fish all from June through October. I don't do anything but fishing. So. Right now it's a good setup. No complaints.
Well, this was a question earlier, and I want to close it on this. So you got the record now. I mean, the bar has been set, but every bar that has been set on the St. Lawrence over the last 5 years has not lasted particularly a long time. What is the ceiling out there? You have had the best day ever in a top level tournament. Now I know there's been bigger bags that have been weighed in local tournaments and some stuff that have been out there. But when you take into the runtime, when you take into the pressure, the fishing pressure of it, when you take into all of that, it's a different animal. Where does this thing top out? I saw someone say, is it 35 possible? Is it possible to catch 5 of those 715 8-pounders in one day and have a 40-pound rack of small? What is the ceiling, Eric?
I had a vibe that day. If I had another 4 hours, especially, could have caught a few more culls for sure, and maybe got up to 33 that day, because there was more 6-pounders around there for sure. They move a lot, so you don't have many opportunities for that. I honestly think there's a chance now in a national tournament, less likely. But there's someone who's going to catch if there's no boundaries, and you can go into the lake, you can fish the river, wherever the heck it is, and you have time. Let's say you're at
the conditions are perfect.
I think
time of the year is perfect.
Someone could tickle 35 pounds. I really do, because that's 5 7-pounders. But now we're getting fish that are high 7s. So you mix in a couple of those, and everything else is a 6. You could, you could tickle 35 pounds. I think that would be. The ceiling is going to keep moving. That's the way that it is, obviously. We're getting better. Technology is getting better. These fish are getting bigger. They are getting smarter. But we've seen it. So in Canada, we have this really fun – I shouldn't talk about this either because we don't need anyone more coming and taking advantage of this. We have an early season catch and release time where until May 10th, we can go out and catch them on Lake Ontario, Canadian side only. And there's guys catching 34, 35-pound bags that time of the year.
But there'll never be a national tournament that time.
No, you can't. You can't even technically bring them in the boat during that season. You're supposed to let them go outside the boat immediately.
That's what I'm talking about in this setting. Like, I mean, you have so many things working against you to have a big bag in that, with the time and the time of the year that they go there and the weather and the restrictions. And
yeah. Hey, you know what? If they let us troll, 40 pounds, no problem.
I love it.
Take that, haters.
Anything else you want to get in here? Like I said, you mentioned your social medias, Erik Luzak. That's with a Z, ERIKLUZAK. Instagram, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. You can follow your journeys there. And then, do you know when those prototypes from Lunker Hunt are going to hit the market? Yeah, they're supposed to be coming out soon. I mean, typically they actually like to have stuff out like when ICAST hits. This is kind of rare that it was going to be a fall release. But they're coming out this fall. The Twitch Witch, it's going to be a banger for sure. I think there's 8 colors. They're all colors that Matt and I kind of picked out of other minnow style baits that we're using. So they're good colors. Like I said, right now just the 3.5 inch is going to come out, but that 4 1/4 is coming, and I use both. They're both phenomenal. But I mean, it's check them out, lunkerhunt.com direct, or you can get them at any of your retailers as well. But thanks for having me on, Matt. It's been good. I mean, I've been this show has got me through some of these long drives from Canada down to wherever I go, and always check out the new episodes you have. So it's pumped to get on and chat with you. Hell yeah! And I will just say, if you're listening and you think that you have a chance to catch a 31-pound bag, you don't. And the reason is because you're not as athletic as Erik. And if you look at his profile, there's proof you can't do that, and he can't. Look at that athleticism.
Jody again with the he's always there.
That was Charles Waldorf.
Oh, yeah.
That was a while ago. I was just, like I said, I was looking through the profile and I found that.
That's funny.
Look at that form.
I think I might have been putting a bit of a show on for Charles then too. Hard to say.
That's fantastic. All right, congratulations. Hopefully you're headed out today to catch some
cutthroat.
Yeah.
So where I am in BC here, I'm like 4-hour drive from smallmouth. I got no bass around me at all. So if I'm going to go fishing here, it's trout. It's not the reason I come out here is for bass fishing, let's put it that way. But we got some streams that you can throw a little dry fly and you get these trout coming up and hitting off the surface. It's a lot of fun. And you're, miles into the backcountry, bears all around you. It's really cool. So I'm going to do a little of that, get a little rest and recovery from the last few weeks of just beating myself up on the St. Lawrence and just, chill in the mountains. I don't know if you can actually turn my camera around. You see like the mountains here. This is my view. I don't know if you can see that, but I mean,
holy cow. Yeah, no, that's fantastic there, Erik. And this is where you live now.
Yeah, I have a house out here. My boat. Then
you keep your boat in Ontario.
Yeah, everything stays there. So I don't have a boat here. I have a snowmobile.
That's a long flight, isn't it?
4-hour flight. Yeah, it's not ideal. I'm not gonna lie. It's
yeah. Like, I mean, we flew on the way up to Alaska. We went up to, I think, Minneapolis, and then across, was it Winnipeg and Edmonton and all that as you go across. And I am looking out the window going, okay, I understand why there's a lot of NHL players from up here because it's all farmland. And then there's just I didn't realize Edmonton was the middle of nowhere and stuff like that. I mean, it's desolate.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where they say you can watch your dog run away for 2 days. It's definitely I've driven across Canada a few times. I don't anymore. I leave a truck here and I have a truck in Ontario. But it's a 3-day drive to get across, and it's just long and flat until you hit. And here I'm in the mountains. But once you hit the Rockies, then it's a big wall of mountains, and then it's cool for a while. But for a lot of that, like you're mentioning Alberta and Winnipeg, it's pretty flat. And but hey, there's good fishing along that whole way too. So if you have to do a cross country fishing trip, there's options. There's bass in almost all of Canada now, but you got to stay south. You go too far north, you lose bass for sure. But you can catch bass from coast to coast now, I believe. And there's lots of other options. But
I'm a big fan of Jay Seaman's YouTube channel. I've never had him on. Mercer was like, "Oh, send you his contact info," and I'm like, "He's probably always doing trips. I'd love to have him on the show." But I watch him. He's always up in some wild, remote location catching giants in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's a whole different. That Kenora area, that's a whole different neck of the woods.
That's Gussie. Do you fish that tournament that I think? I don't know if I think I'm fishing that next year. I am fishing that next year.
The KBI?
Yeah. In July.
I'd love to do it. It's definitely on the bucket list for sure. But a long ways away from where I am. Everyone always says that, like, "Oh, you fish, where Gussie is." Like Gussie and I are like 20-hour drive away from each other. So and we're in the same province. So it's a long ways away. It's quicker for me to drive to Florida and fish on Harris Chain than it is to me to go drive and fish where Gussie is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go. I know you got cutthroat to catch.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Panger. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, Erik Luzak right there. Wrapping things up for today. Hella best. Panger, please tell us about all the fish you knifed for dinner at Leech after the guest. Okay, here's the deal with the catching of the fish. So technically in the Bassmaster rules, it says you have to contact the tournament director in order to put a fish in the live well during practice. The purpose of this is they don't want you seeding fish. They don't want you on like the Arkansas River to go catch 5 out of the main river and then go put them in a backwater. So I cleared it with Hank. Hey, can I keep a yellow perch, a walleye for dinner? You see everyone on the Elite Series does it. A lot of guys in MLF will do it and stuff. You just have to be very careful, make sure you have all the regulations and all the rules. Like on Leech Lake, you could keep 4 walleye, one of which could only be over 20 inches long. You could keep 20 yellow perch. You could keep 5 sunfish, whatnot. So the first day of practice on Leech, I don't know if I should tell this story, but I will. I actually spent an hour and a half of my first day of practice trying to catch walleye on a flatworm and caught my limit of walleye. And then I was boulder fishing, and I kept catching these rock bass, like actual rock bass, which is kind of like a mix between like a warmouth, a sunfish, they're northern fish. But these things, I put one on the scale. It was like a 182. They were like 13.5 inches long. Like you'd hook them and be like, oh, that's a keeper smallmouth. And then it'd be this big rock bass. So I'm looking it up. I can't find any regulations on the rock bass. So I just assume they fall under sunfish. So one day I kept 5 of them of practice. And I will tell you what, you want to catch a rock bass on Leech, a Strike King tumbleweed, which is a dice bait on a drop shot, every single one in the lake will inhale it. So I got 5 of these rock bass. I actually Googled, like, are rock bass good to eat? And they're like, hey, rock bass is a firm, white, fleshy meat. It's phenomenal to eat. So I went back and did 2 things. We'd never eaten rock bass in my life. We put in at Trapper's Landing, which is one of the nicest kind of resorts I've ever seen. The owner there is awesome. The people there are fantastic. You can pay to get like a 3-day pass ramp to drop it. So on one of the days we're pulling it out, and one of the dudes who helped pull the boat out, 16, 17-year-old kid, and he's like, hey, feel free to use the fish house. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll use the fish house. So pull the bubba knife out, go in and fillet the rock bass, and I was shocked at how white and firm the meat was. So then we went back, and I'd also had listeners send some of the send some new breading. So I did half of the rock bass in. I'm trying to figure out what name it was. What was the name of that breading? I'll have to get it for the next show. But then I had beer batter, which I had never done beer battered fried fish before. I've always wanted to, because when I go out and I've had like beer battered walleye, beer battered perch, I've just never been a beer batter guy. So I got the Shore Lunch beer batter, and I did the rock bass and Shore Lunch beer batter. Top 3 fish I've ever had in my life. Not kidding. I fried it in peanut oil. That was key. Beer battered rock bass, and then little squirt of lemon on top, fresh lemon on top, lightly salted. Then I put it in the oven at like 170 just to firm it up to keep it from getting soggy. You can't put like layers on top of the beer batter. It's unbelievable. Like, I considered staying an extra day because once I found out that there is no limit on rock bass, I considered staying an extra day and just going out to the boulders and just catching as many rock bass as I could and then vacuum sealing them. So we had one walleye dinner and one rock bass dinner. No, Jody, I know people are asking here about eating the drum. Unlike Frank Scalish, who believes that drum is one of the finest eating fish in fresh water. I don't know if that's actually true. He did say that it's edible. I did not catch, nor keep, nor eat any drum. I did, however, in practice, and I also wasn't sure if I was even allowed to take these suckers out of the water. I did, after 20 years of fishing in water where there's muskies, I have never hooked one, and then I caught 2 giant muskie in one day. One on a chatterbait and one on a 7-inch minnow out there. And it was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Like, those things, I think, have like a conscious mind, are like aware of what's going on. They fight. There's a point in the fight where they're like, okay, you got me. They don't like flop around. You revive them. To me, they remind me of like almost like a mammal. It's so weird. Those muskie are like, they look like they move their eyes. I didn't realize they could like move their eyes around. Like, you catch a largemouth and it's just like, but those muskies like kind of take into account their surroundings. They let you like get the hook out. They don't mess around that much. Once you revive them, they're very cool. So I think one was probably about a 45 incher. One was probably about a 40 incher. So really cool on that too. I also, and we'll talk about this more with Frank, because I had a very interesting game plan there on Leech, out of it in the points. Thought I could win that tournament, was less than 3 pounds out going into the final day. Thought it knew with the win that we had and they took us out on the final day that it would be very tough to crack that 21, 22 pound mark. Thought I would have a chance to win if I came in with 23. Turns out I needed less than 22 to win. And my first 3 fish were all over 4 pounds. I think I put in like 3 for 10.5, but I had like a 4 3/4, a 4.5, and a 4. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. I was fishing 5-footers with a jig and a bait caster, making long cast to boulders and then just cracking it and getting a reaction bite out of those fish and just eating waves over the side of the boat the whole day. But it's cool to see that fishery was won last year by Easton Fothergill, the favorite, on giant smallmouth scoping. Then Easton fished it this year. He caught a total of 6 fish, and it was won in the opposite end of the lake by Laker Howell largemouth fishing with 2 bags of largemouth. That is a testament to how good that lake is, how much weather impacts that lake. It's one of the few lakes in the country you can legit win going all in on largemouth, and you can legit win going all in on smallmouth. And I think Leech, it's not one of those lakes, in my opinion. Like, you go to some lakes and I feel like the opens guys, you put 250 boats, you have live on it, and it changes the way that lake is fished for years. It really impacts the fishery and the fish and the movement of those fish. If some technique or something was kind of exploited on that, and I don't want to say hurts the fishery, but it definitely changes the fishery. I don't think we leave a footprint on Leech. There's so much rice, there's so much backwater, there's so much grass, there's so much good smallmouth water, so much rock, boulders, weather dictates what you are and what you are not able to do on such a daily basis. There's just so much good, healthy habitat up there that I think that it is that the opens don't leave a big footprint after you have 215 boats out there for 3 days of practice and 3 days of tournaments. Yeah, you can punch, you can flip. There's deep grass that you can do that in. You can jerk bait, you can top water, you can drop shot, you can jig, you can minnow. You can literally do anything. The only problem is there's very few days where the entire lake is fishable. Like it's a thinking man's tournament. The canceled day was interesting. It probably blew harder on the final day than it would have on the day that we canceled that was canceled. I understand the largemouth guys going, well, that's part of the game plan. Smallmouth guy in the middle of the lake trying to fish a minnow on boulders. You should have looked at the forecast and realized it was going to blow and go into Boyd Bay and figure out how to punch some fish out of the rice so you weren't out in the middle getting your ass kicked. I also understand how if you're bass, you don't want to send the majority of the field out in something where you know it's going to blow 25 to 30 miles an hour in the middle of the day. And it was rough as hell. Like, I am glad we were not out there on the first day. It worked in my benefit on the first day. And then, we were out there in the second day just at 4 or 5 footers. It was nasty, but you saw the largemouth play. You saw Matt Steffen come back with an almost 19-pound bag and a 5-pound largemouth that he caught. You saw Laker that won it on it. You saw some bags of smallmouth that were earned. You saw a lot of guys who caught them on the first day. I probably had 20 over 3.5 on the first day and had 4 bites on the second day for 15 pounds. But it is what it is. We'll dive into the patterns. I did some interesting things. I had some interesting questions for Frank Scalish on a Thursday based on smallmouth positioning based on sunlight, because to me it was very interesting in that tournament how drastically I noticed it change versus sunny versus calm, and then also why smallmouth in some locations seem to be impacted a lot by overhead boat positioning. And smallmouth in other instances, you could have a rock band on the back deck slamming around and they just don't care. These fish were like deer on opening day of shotgun season. Like, you had to hit them so far out and you could not be on your trolling motor and you could not have a shadow over them. It was really interesting. So I'd like to get his take on that. And we're also looking to get Laker on the show. It was interesting. I talked to him before takeoff. He actually power pulled down next to me. I never talked to him before. And I said, hey, man, I'd like to get you on BTL. He said, yeah, I mean, at this point, he's in 20th place in the tournament, no camera boat or anything. And then he goes out and wins it. So maybe I have a leg up in getting him on the show there since I asked him to get on the show before. And then we'll also dive into the EQs that kick off in a couple weeks and the Elite Series, which ends this week on Mississippi out of La Crosse. So big shout out to Erik Luzak. Go ahead, follow him on all the social medias. Biggest bag of smallmouth and high level tournament competition ever. 31. Let's call it 31 and a half, rounded up there. This has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. Same time, same place tomorrow. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.